What's up, everybody? So today I have the only one that I know that has a fucking dope ass story as this one, because I got to meet him. What was it, like a month ago or so, for the boat cruise get together, and I got to sit across from him, and I was just like, oh, let me see what this guy's about. I got no idea who the fuck this is. No offense, you know what I mean?
Hey, it's
Yeah.
all good.
And DJ Access, the one and only, bro. Thank you for
Thank you
being
very
here.
much. Thank you.
I look
Appreciate you.
forward to discuss. I was about to share some of the stories, but
Sure.
I'm like, hold on, let me have him do it. But
Sure.
all right.
Some
First up, what I
stories.
wanted to ask you is, tell me how you got into the fitness shit, because I see that all over
The
your page. You are a ripped
fitness.
motherfucker,
Thank you
bro.
very much.
So how'd you get into that?
So being in, a touring rock band, Shinobi Ninja. Shout out to the whole crew. At one point, the lead singer was like, "Listen, we have this concept for music video. We want you to be like a luchador, like like the Mexican wrestler with the
Okay,
mask."
yeah,
And he's like,
yeah.
"Yo,
Mhm.
so just get as ripped and jacked as you can. We're gonna have you like shirtless, all like oiled up, like flexing." So yeah, I took, next 2 weeks, I just worked out like crazy and tried to eat healthy, and just my body just kind of responded. And after that, I kept going. I'm like, yo, I just want to get in shape. And I think it was that Christmas my sister bought me the Arnold Schwarzenegger's bodybuilding encyclopedia, and from reading that, at one point in the beginning, he basically says, if you've ever thought of bodybuilding, you have to do it because it'll change your life. And in that moment, all the time I've spent in the gym and trying to get pumped up, trying to have a ripped physique, I felt like in that moment he almost like ninja'd my brain and was just like, "You think about this all the time, you flex." It's almost kind of like if you've ever like stood in front of the mirror and flexed and felt yourself, Arnold's like, you have to try bodybuilding. It'll change your life. And he was right. I mean, just that journey of doing my first contest. I was self-coached. I literally went online and tried to find somebody. I'm like, oh, this guy, kind of looks like he has a similar physique. He's like half Asian. So I'm like, maybe we have some kind of somebody who's very random,
Something, yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
all right, let me just find a
Relate
blueprint.
somehow, yeah.
But it literally came down to training and tracking everything I ate for like 2.5 months. And before you knew it, I was just shredded and just more ripped than I'd ever been because of that crazy consistency,
So it
So,
started off as a music video, then you got
yeah,
into just the whole aspect of it through the Arnold.
that's when
That's kind of like what finalized the, like, I'm
to
going. Yeah.
compete. Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes,
Then
yes.
first day of competitions, you self train yourself. Tell
My
me
first
the feelings as you're
competition.
like going through it. Like, what do you think in day one is like,
I
or like
well,
first hour you're in there? Like, what's going
oh,
on?
you mean the training or the
The
actual
actual competition,
Oh, that I mean,
the first
yeah.
competition. Like, what's the
I
nerves
was
like?
just like, "Oh, what?" Like, of course.
Hold on,
It,
my neighbor downstairs just texted me. I'm assuming it's about your car.
uh,
So what was the feelings like going into it, that that first competition?
again, it's just very nerve-wracking. I mean, everything I'd seen to that point, I had just kind of watched videos, even of like the type of contest I was entering. I'd never actually been to one. So, just trying to really understand how to get ready and find my place backstage. Luckily everyone in like natural bodybuilding, and again, that's the difference between the way I compete versus which the mainstream, which is we're drug tested.
Okay,
So,
it's all organic in the sense of like
so
your build.
no, so basically we're prohibited from using steroids and performance enhancers at all, and so we are drug tested when we compete.
What made you choose that way of doing it versus the traditional way of like doing the steroids, doing like, or maybe I'm
Yeah,
wrong, like,
yeah,
you know
no,
what I
no,
mean?
yeah.
Like, that's how I've
That
known it.
is the
Yeah,
mainstream. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So like, what made you choose to go more natural, or like natural?
Well, so when I was in high school at in prep school, I had actually tried steroids, and I just really didn't like the way, you know, they made me feel. I just became very competitive, and it just
Like you had like an aggression, or what do you mean?
Yeah, you know, and just like it made me very unhappy. Unfortunately, you know, I was very competitive playing hockey, and yeah, unfortunately, just kind of, you know, just took the fun out of it once I went to that point of being so competitive that I was gonna, you know, try something like that.
Right, right.
Which, again, I mean, I think it's to everyone's choice. I don't look down or judge anyone who chooses to
Yeah,
be
I got
like a
some boys who like
mainstream.
love that shit, bro. They swear by it.
Yeah, no,
Like they
I mean
love
it's
being just fucking
all
like they love
yeah. I
that
mean
shit,
it's a
bro.
feel,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
It's a
and so
vibe for them. Like they
for
really
them
fuck with it. Yeah,
exactly,
yeah,
you know, and for
yeah.
whatever reason, you know, your more motivation. It's up to the person, you
Yeah.
know, and I can completely understand, you know, the idea of living the version that you see of yourself, and like that only you know what's in your heart of like what of my vision of what I want to look like that'll make me really fulfilled. Then, you know, some people just want to look like the Hulk, you know,
Right,
and
yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah,
it,
yeah.
and
I
just
think
happen
that's
to be
most guys,
strong.
bro.
Like,
Most
yeah,
guys,
I
like,
mean,
if you're not trying to be an MMA fighter,
yeah,
you want to be
yeah,
as jacked as shit. Like, that's
yeah,
the two
or
I've
like a
seen, you know?
runner or some kind of endurance, you know, sport like that. Then I suppose, but yeah, no, I mean, it completely, I think, changed my life. You know, getting into bodybuilding and then being able to kind of take that consistency and diligence of practice to my DJing, and that really, I think, has just been,
So give me what a breakdown of, like, for you when you're preparing for a competition. What is, like, your schedule look like in terms of eating, working out? Like, what does that kind of look like for you?
So yeah, I mean, again, with getting ready for a contest, it's the dieting is just tracking your food, and
What
you
do you,
know,
like, what,
so
like, what do you
understanding
take in and what are you burning out, I guess, in terms of workouts and, like, how are you balancing it for yourself?
basically find, you know, getting ready for a contest, you have to basically put yourself into a bit of a caloric deficit and eat a certain way where you're really prioritizing protein as, you know, the main macronutrient. Again, I mean, we get into a little bit of the weeds of just health and fitness on some level and just basic dieting. You know, if you just ask the random person on the street, like, what are macronutrients? They're
Right,
probably
right,
like,
yeah, 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 yeah,
what is
yeah.
that? Macaroni and
Yeah.
cheese?
Bro,
Like,
you can go
no.
as in depth as you want right now. Like
Yeah,
I'm for it right now. You know,
I
like
mean,
I'm
really,
trying to get it.
ultimately, all food is broken down into three macronutrients: protein, carbs, and fat.
Okay.
And so, you know, depending on how much you eat of each one of those things, affects your metabolism. You know,
Okay. So like how
so
fast you can burn it.
yeah, and
Okay.
so that's where, you know, it really is like bodybuilding is like a science. It's really finding the science of your body of what kind of fuel it needs and what kind of training stimulus it needs to
Like
maximize.
best perform.
Yeah, to
Okay.
have the best
Okay, okay. So what do
results.
you find for you works best? Like what
Low
like do you
carbs, just staying away from sugar.
yeah?
You
You
know,
find
I've
that the
had
sugar is usually what fucks you up the most if you stay with it?
no. I mean, it's just, you know, having more sugar, then just can carry around more fat and water. You know, which in the off season you want to keep more muscle, then you're gonna keep more of that. But getting ready for a contest, that's, you know, it's literally turning your body into a furnace, and on some level, you know, your body's like eating itself. You're literally putting your body into a state where it's using stored fat as fuel, and by eating very low carbs, that usually is the trick, at least for me. Again,
Okay.
other people have different techniques. You know, maybe they'll have more fats, you know, and you can have, again, it all depends on, you got to try for yourself and see what your body responds to.
Right, 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 right. So when you're competing, like, and I know this is gonna sound dumb because I just don't know, but I'm
Yeah,
curious.
yeah,
But
for
it just
sure, for
looks like
sure.
everybody's tanned as fuck when they're on
Yeah,
stage.
yeah, yeah. So,
Like what's up with that? Like how does that go
so
on?
like, yeah,
You know?
you really have to put on a tan. So, you know, basically when
For
you're
the
under the,
definition.
yeah,
Okay.
to see the detail, and that's why, yeah, everyone gets a very dark tan, as dark as possible, so that it
Like it's an
really,
actual tan, or like what? Like
it's
you
like a
go to a
spray
tanning
tan.
salon, or
Spray tan. They have places that'll do it at the show. I use Dream Tan, which is like, it's like almost like painted on, so I can do that on the day of the contest. But
okay,
other tanning, spray tanning, then you have to do like a few sessions, and
okay. To
yeah.
really
So
get
there's a
to the
couple there's a
like
couple
to get
different
to the perfect
processes.
like
Yeah,
color to like,
yeah,
show them what's the
exactly,
finishing.
exactly. The spray
Okay.
stuff, it's a process of like a couple coats and stuff like that. Where the painted on stuff is just literally day of, just
Okay.
you just kind of pat it on and
Okay.
get
How was
ready.
that putting that on for the first time? Like when you had to do that, like were you like, let's fucking go? Or
Yeah,
like what
yeah. I
was the
mean,
thought?
it's luckily it's you have a friend or a coach. I've been very fortunate that I've had like just OG bodybuilders just help me, from the beginning. So they would just help me get painted up. I mean, usually, yeah, you have like a coach. Coaches usually do it, or other competitors help you. But I usually have a friend, backstage helps
Yeah.
me. Yeah.
What's the one memory for bodybuilding that stands out to you the most? Like when you think about
Oh, the
everything.
most?
Yeah.
100% winning my pro card. Because that was something that, is just a very hard thing to do in the realm of bodybuilding. It's
Hmm.
really to win your professional status means you have to win a big show, So at the end of the day, everyone up there is ripped. Everyone's got a six pack, everyone's got muscle, and everyone's dedicated enough to so it's really what's gonna distinguish you is just like the little extra detail. And so again, going back to my first contest, I just wanted to be like solid. I just want to be respectful. I didn't want to go up there and people be like, "Oh man, he don't belong up
Yeah,
there." I just want to go up and like do my thing. But again, I was just, I practiced my posing, and again, I had friends like older bodybuilders who would give me some pointers on my posing and presentation, and yeah, my first show I just did really well. They basically the classes are divided by experience. So
Okay.
there's
All
one
right.
class is debut, it's your very first show. Then there's a novice class if you've never won a class, which is again it's like a beginner. And then the open is the main division where that's where the top bodybuilders compete. And to win the open that's when you win, your professional status. So
That's dope.
yeah, no, I mean, it was again that first show where, there was this one competitor who was just incredible, and you'd see this at contests. Like sometimes someone has such an impressive physique, like half the people are just on their nuts, being like, "Yo, just give him the trophy
Yeah,
now.
yeah,
I ain't
yeah,
gonna beat them.
yeah.
This
Yeah.
guy looks like Hercules. Like, we're done." And so a lot of times there's like energy with kind of people like, "Oh, this person looks really good," and unfortunately, this guy with his inexperience, his posing was really bad, And again, with bodybuilding, it's about how much muscle you have, but also how ripped you are, like basically like how little body fat you have, So that's where I was really ripped, and his posing was off. So I ended up beating someone who like they thought was gonna win the whole show, And I'm like a rookie, and like we were
Yeah.
all rookies, but again, this guy had such an impressive physique, so like, you know, beating someone who's more impressive like that, especially as a smaller, bodybuilder, and also as someone was a hockey player who eventually stopped because I stopped growing too, beyond, when I, dabbled with steroids in high school, like I also just stopped, so it just became
I
very.
feel you, bro. I'm
Yeah,
not exactly
so
much taller.
so basically, like when I'm like, yo, I found a sport where like I could take out the big guy.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
I'm
yeah, yeah.
hooked, bro.
Let's
I'm
go.
changing my safe DJ David, yo. I'm looking for Goliath. Always looking. Just take him out. But and again, after that first show was just really like I just went in, wanted to be respectful, and I was like, I did really good. I ended up getting like third in the open class. I still remember that being on stage for the first time, hitting some poses, and all of a sudden I just hear nice hamstring 58 58 nice hamstrings. You're like, yo, like I don't know anybody here, and someone's like shouting me out because that you just are known by your number,
Okay.
so when people are in the crowd they'll just yell whatever number you are. And I'm like, damn, I'm getting a shout out, and I looked over at this guy. I'm like, oh, he's look pretty big. He's a pretty big dude. Come to find out afterwards, he was actually the pro bodybuilder who was like doing the guest posing at the show. And I'm like, yo, like, damn, I'm humble. Like, thanks for the shout out. He's like, yo, I gotta call it like I see him. I gotta call it like I see him. I'm like, damn, like the pro gave me props. And so yeah, from there, just kept competing, and again it took me like 3.5 years to officially finally win my professional status. And it was a grind, man. Definitely took second place a lot, a bunch of times, and it's tough. But like again, going back to what you said, my most memorable moment was winning my pro card, because I'd literally just come off a New York show where again I just so close to be winning overall, and like again, this guy was incredible physique. I think his, again, I think I had him with the posing and conditioning, but he was quite impressive, and he wasn't, So I literally had just done a show where I'd almost won, and so I just really just I'm like, yo, this I gotta, I gotta, this is my show, and once I got there, there were a couple of guys who are, again, I'm usually one of the smaller guys there, so there's two guys who were pretty impressive, and I knew I had to bring it, and I remember being backstage, and again, that was the year, that was my daughter was gonna be born, so I remember going back before posing and pulled out like the sonogram picture, just pulled it out and just like, yo, your dad's gonna go kick some ass today, and it was, and then to go out and just they had me, so basically again with bodybuilding with comparisons when they do the prejudging, which is pretty much where the scoring happens, they line everybody up and then pretty much they put one of the best physique in the middle. So if you're in dead center, that usually means you're going to win because they're comparing everyone else to you. So if you're always in the middle, then that's usually, so for prejudging, I mean, I was pretty much like dead center almost the whole time, so I felt it, I really felt it. And, but then I remember the kid who took second. I don't think he even thought like I was on the radar, because I remember him talking to the other kid who took third place, and he's like, yo, I think it's between us. And I remember we're all side stage as they're calling the placings, and then they called third, and then so it was this one kid. So then it just came down to me and the kid who thought he had it, and in that moment I'm like, oh, it's mine, bro. And and then they're in second place, and they called his name, and so I'm standing, and in that moment, I felt like I went blind for a second, and like it was like everything was like, just like literally a dream come true. I'm like, what? Like I felt like everything was just kind of washed out in a second, and it was just like this crazy energy. And I remember, going to the front, and they awarded me a belt, like a belt for first place. And I remember the promoter coming up because I had actually, this again, years I'd competed. So this specific show, I think I'd taken second the last 2 years, So he came up and just was like, dude, you finally did it. And I just remember like on some like John Cena shit, just being like, yeah, like holding the belt up, like my yeah, and people, again, it's hard to explain, I guess. I mean, anyone who's a performer, it's just that moment where you like pop the crowd is everything. It's addicting, It's like one of the greatest feelings of the world when you just literally can like activate the joy in your life. The joy in your life literally activates the audience. It's like nothing but your heart just like on display, and everyone's like, woo, it's again, like that's just looking back. Again, it was such a moment because it was such a huge hill to climb, and something that, again, being smaller, it's harder to do because being a smaller guy, I have to win overall, which means I have to beat the bigger guys. And bodybuilding's still bodybuilding, all things being equal, the bigger guy's gonna win because that's it's a bodybuilding show. So yeah, to be able to come out on top after, yeah, I still think back to that and gives me goosebumps. Yeah, for sure. It was crazy.
Bro, that's the ultimate high right there, bro. Like, that's the fucking high of
Well, I mean,
highs.
it's funny because, like right after I spoke to one of the judges, he's like, bro, it's best I've ever looked. He's like, your hamstrings look like pipes back there, man. Pipes. He's like, most reps. He's like, but now you're a pro. He's like, now you got to take it to the next level to be competitive, just even be more dialed in and polished.
So now that you've won that, you have to move up to the next one.
Yeah, well now, yeah, and that's when I started competing as a professional.
Right.
Yeah, and so again, my first contest was in Cape Cod. Ended up getting sixth place. Again, I'm going against like the best of the best. So to really stand up there and just be in the mix is a huge task. You know, but yeah, even my debut was great. This guy Ron Harris, who's like editor of Muscle and Fitness, was there. He's like, "Dude, you nailed your conditioning." I'm like, "What?" I mean, normally this guy covers like mainstream NPC, IFBB bodybuilding. I don't know why. Maybe he was there covering it for something. But yeah. So after that, um, continued competing as a pro and qualified for the World Championships a few times and have competed there, and never did better than seventh, but definitely still determined to try to go make top five. Hopefully in the next few years
Right.
before I hang it up, but we'll see.
Well, I mean, is that something you actually have to hang up in terms of? Well, I guess. Well, let me ask this: in terms of what the average lifespan of someone who bodybuilds is in a natural,
Well, yeah,
organic way,
natural.
like
We
when is
actually
it
the
really
top
like a?
competitors are into their like 40s, late 40s, early 50s.
Okay.
Again because your body's not smoked out from using PEDs.
Right.
I
Right.
mean,
Right.
if you really look at like mainstream bodybuilders, once it's almost like your body has a shelf life for PED use. So if you start younger, then by the time you're your 30s, you know
Your body's wearing it.
you're
It's showing
smoked.
it.
It's
Hmm.
smoked. Your
Hmm.
body's just not gonna. So as far as excuse me, natural bodybuilding, it takes 10 years. Again, this was actually in Arnold's book, even though he did, use his whatever he used, whatever he claims. I mean, whatever he claims is way different than what.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
Well,
What
I
you
mean,
say you
again,
use and what you actually
well,
use. Yeah,
of
yeah.
course, being like, a bodybuilding fan, I read like his encyclopedia, I read his autobiography, I read like unauthorized
Mhm.
autobiographies, like I read, so it's definitely interesting to hear the different stories of him being like, no, I was just using Diana Ball from my doctor, and then
Yeah,
other
yeah,
bodybuilders like, no,
yeah.
he'd go to the gym, be like,
Give it to me all.
yeah,
Yeah.
give me the Diana Ball, give me all that.
Oh
What are you
fuck.
doing? What are you doing? So, um,
Oh shit.
yeah. So again, but the point being that your physique just stays
Hmm.
much more solid. So, some of the top natural bodybuilders in their 40s, and there's some top pros who are in their 50s, 100%.
Now, what do you think is the biggest leap between going from going uh, from the open that you won to now competing at the highest level? What do
Yeah.
you see as the biggest difference?
It's just the quality of the competitor, I mean, it's the guys are bigger and everyone's in shape. So it's just the level is just much higher as far
Yeah.
as, yeah, the competition. I mean, yeah, and all the guys are impressive. So that's the thing. I mean, at a pro show, everyone had to win their pro status. So you're already like everyone's a champion,
Yeah.
even just any pro show, it's like everyone had to win a show to get their status. So you're you're competing against champs. It's just champs. Everyone's a
Yeah.
champ.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can't
Yeah.
get on
Yeah.
stage unless you have the card. So it means you're a champ to get the card. So yeah, just the level of competition is just yeah,
Okay.
crazy. Yeah.
Now, you were DJing way before that, I
Yeah,
would
yeah,
assume, right?
yeah,
Now,
yeah, of
now,
course.
now, I know you told me some stories, but just for the sake of the podcast and getting some
Of
of them
course, yeah,
again,
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
gonna ask you that.
I got
So,
plenty of stories
yeah.
being in
So,
touring rock band,
let's
DJing.
start with I think the one that I enjoyed that you showed me some videos of was when you were talking about you got asked to start playing a set because something had gotten screwed up or whatever in terms of timing, and then you played some like Skrillex and you played
Oh,
like
okay,
you're
okay,
like
yeah. This was Summerfest,
yeah.
yeah,
So like if you
2011
could
with the
tell me
band.
tell me that
About that
again.
band,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, about yeah, another glorious Shinobi Ninja memory. So this was our second time playing Summerfest. The year before we had played and we had opened for this band, Slightly Stupid, and yeah, incredible show. And there was a little time before the band where my manager was like, "Yo, go in and warm up the crowd." And at that point, I'm like, I'm not sure what I should play, but what we're doing in New York again. This was 2010, so it's really on the beginning of that EDM,
Right, right, right.
blowing up. So just all that electro, the Afrojack, and like the David Guetta remixes, and so yeah, just like dropping that, and the college kids going nuts. Like it was dope. So going into 2011, it was definitely I had a little more. I had some experience. I'm like, all right. But in 2011, the crowd was like bigger. It was like 5,000 people instead of 3,000 people, and the band before us was just some girl pop group that was, again, we were opening for this band called Rise Against, which is like a rock, it's definitely like more edgy, you know, definitely some harder stuff. So the kids definitely were not into the pop, the Katy Perry covers and this
Sure,
pop
yeah.
band. And I just really, it was just,
You can feel
kind of,
this energy
I
being
felt
sucked out the room.
uncomfortable
Yeah.
for them,
Yeah.
just looking on the stage and just seeing all these like angry kids that are like, yeah, they're not interested at all. And at one point they were like, "We got one more song, or do you want us to sing another song?" And they were like, "No, boo!" I was like, "Oh my god, that sucks!"
Yeah.
Like, oh my god, like with that as a
Oh.
performer, that's got to be like the worst thing ever, man. You just, it's almost like, why did you ask? Just walk off. Just be
Yeah.
like, all right, we're done, guys. Instead of being like, you want one more when there's literally a huge dude in front just giving you the finger the whole time. Like,
Yeah.
probably not. Just, I think the answer is just in their looks on their faces.
You
I
set
felt
yourself
bad.
up for failure by asking.
I
You know what
felt
mean?
bad.
Like,
I
yeah.
felt bad. I'm like, why'd you even ask? Do you want us to say no? Like, it was. But somehow in that moment, our manager at the time, shout out Steve Sternshine, he was like, somehow got to the stage manager and be like, hey, if there's some extra time, our DJ can go, warm up the crowd, whatever. And he's like, and so next thing you know, it comes to me, he's like, hey, we got some time. You want to go? I'm like, okay. Like, again, going into it, being like, because this whole time that I'm touring with Shinobi, at the same time still doing like, the New York City clubs when I go back. So a lot of the stuff we're doing is just like straight hip hop and like electro, club stuff. And these, I'm like, I try and drop into a rock bag. I mean, they're younger, so, really trying to figure all that out. I'm like, what am I gonna play? Like, so I just didn't really feel like I had any idea of like where to go with it. And so I'm like, what am I gonna do? Just drop some Nirvana, or like, am I gonna, Papa Roach, like Metallica? Like, there's just, and in that moment, I'm like, fuck, like, all right, let me just try and do some like, club shit, or just some, dance. And in the beginning, I forgot, I just dropped some electro track and just to test the water. And then for some reason, I'm just like, y'all ready for the hard shit? Like, you all ready? And there's just, that was literally when Skrillex was blowing up. So as soon as I dropped the dubstep, it was just all the kids in the front row just like headbanging, just moshing and be like, zzz, boom. And, it was pretty awesome to see the crowd go from like literally like giving booing these poor girls to just like losing their minds to dubstep, and then reading the comments afterwards, people are like, oh, they're finally playing EDM at Summerfest, which is
Nice.
great. They're like, oh, finally,
Yeah.
dubstep, woo. And then of course one hater's like, yo, who do you think you are, Skrillex? Why are you playing so many Skrillex records? I'm like, son, dubstep's, like I played some Flux Pavilion, bro. I played some Bass Nectar. Like, relax, But again, it was
Haters are gonna hate, my guy. That's just what they do, man. That's what they do.
But yeah, it was definitely a moment. And that was also the time. I don't know if you remember the drink Four Loco back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when they used to make it strong, so me and the lead singer were just hammering those. So we were definitely. By the time we got off the stage, we were.
Bro, those were like the
we
best to get fucked
obliterated.
up on.
Oh, we were
Like,
obliterated.
Bro,
We were
like 2 or 3
what?
of those, you were done for the
Tastes
night,
like
bro.
purple soda,
Yeah.
orange soda.
Oh my
It
God.
just gets you.
Yeah, I remember seeing the news being like, these drinks are.
Oh, they were like,
they're-
oh, someone died. I'm
Yeah.
not surprised,
Yeah,
bro.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not, I thought I was going to. But yeah, I think that was the moment where dubstep saved our band.
Yeah.
It was great.
Now tell me about your first scratch competition. or
Ooh, the first
yeah.
scratch competition. So, um, this was back in, I grew up in North Jersey. I was born in Canada, but grew up in North Jersey, and which, I think just incredible fortune to be so close because I was really close to New York, so growing up, listening to like Hot 97, Funkmaster Flex, and just really being like near all that hip hop culture and the DJing was, looking back is just, such tremendous, tremendous fortune. And I had some friends who were just really into like underground hip hop. Actually, I really kind of started as like a raver. I was really into like techno and going to raves with the homies, and like that's when I kind of got into like breakdancing because I'm like, yo, like there's all these people doing crazy dances right at the raves, but like, yo, the guys who throw on the helmets and do like windmills and head spins, yo, that's the dopest shit. So I'm like, yo, that's what I want. I'm like, I want to get into breakdancing, and I was, I could do a little footwork, but like it just never got there, bro. And
Yeah,
then it was just like,
I tried it, but I was
yeah, I
yeah,
was
I
just,
get it.
and but that was also the time where I just really started to get more into hip hop culture because I had these friends that were really tapped into like the underground music scene in New York City. So basically, in the late '90s, you know, early 2000s, I suppose, was kind of towards the end of it. But there was like a whole nother hip hop scene in New York with underground music, which was largely attributed to like the store Fat Beats and different kind of stores that were actually selling independent artist music to the points where people could have careers and make real money. Like you didn't need a freaking record deal anymore. It's like you built a following, you get cool at Fat Beats, you selling records, you doing shows. So there was just like this whole, scene, and we were just really tapped in because one of our friends, actually, his older brother is Rich King, who he managed Big L,
Okay.
the rapper. So again, just being like tapped into the culture, like and his brother Rich also worked at Fat Beats, so he helped build that, so being so like tapped into that culture, I really just found this new love for hip hop. And you know, I remember we were hanging out again because I was, into b-boying, but then they had this video from like the Rocksteady Crew anniversary from like 1996, and we were, watching this DVD, and like I'm watching these DJs, and I'm just like, what the hell? It's like the Scratch Pickles versus the Executioners, and again, these are like two, you know, legendary DJ groups that kind of represented the West Coast and the East Coast. You have the Scratch Pickles, Qbert Mixmaster Mike, Shortcut from like San Francisco, and they just all have the crazy scratching, and they ended up becoming world champions in the early 90s, as like a DJ group, and kind of established themselves. When then you also had like the Executioners out of New York with Rob Swift, Rock Raider, Mr. Sinister, and Total Eclipse, and Rock Raider was like world champion in '95, and of course like Rob Swift had been U.S. finalist, and all the other, Sinister and Total Eclipse, all top guys, U.S. finalists multiple times, and they're just like the dopest guys in New York, and they have like the body tricks, and the beat juggling, whereas these guys had the scratching. So it's just like these two worlds, like titans, just colliding and just watching like holy shit, like Rob Swift's like dissing Mixmaster Mike, and like Qbert's going after Rock Raider. You're like, what the fuck? It's literally like watching Marvel Universe. It's like Superman, you're just like, oh my god, like this is amazing. And that just their just genius and wizardry of like how they handle the turntables. I'm like, yo, that's the dopest shit of DJing, because I'm getting a DJ. I'm like, again, I'm always kind of pulled towards like what's the most elite shit, right? And when it came to the turntables, I'm like, like that's the most elite shit someone can do on the turn. Like the way you're manipulating it, like I need to learn to do that. So again, back then there was a lot more DJ contests because early 2000s, like that DJ culture was just starting to become blow up. You know what I'm saying? You have like Mark Ronson and like Tommy Hilfiger ads. You have Rob Swift and Shortcut doing like Gap jeans commercials. You know what I'm saying? Like it was very mainstream. So again, there was contest. The Guitar Center used to have a national contest. Cool Mix, Cool Cigarettes used to throw, a contest. You're like, what? And then there'd be like different organizations.
My love, is Wyatt knocking on the door? Sorry, my son.
It's all good, right? He's a man. He's a man.
So I think I remember those with Guitar Center having the different competition.
Yeah. So again, that was the first contest I entered, and man, just so nervous. Before that, right around that time, I'm Buddhist, so it was kind of the time where like I kind of started my own practice, and that I think really helped me in the very, which I mean to this day I'm still practicing Buddhist, but I feel like it was almost like starting my Buddhist journey and DJ journey kind of came at the same time, because it was like I'd grown up in this faith and always believing in it, but there was finally something where I needed to I wanted something so bad. I'm like, I'm willing to try anything. And I feel like this, works for my family, gives my mom peace of mind. So, going into that first contest, I was just like, scared and so nervous. But around that time, we had an organization, we were getting ready for a youth festival at Madison Square Garden. And I'm in my head, I'm just like, what? Like, yo, I could put Madison Square Garden on my resume. I'm like, yo, I'm going to take over New York. Fuck that. I'm going to take all your gigs, bro. What? Like, if I could, I'm like, that was my thing. I'm like, all right, I'm going to go join this youth group. We're going to perform at Madison Square Garden. And then I'm going to go to Leopard Lounge and Cheetah Lounge, go to 4040, be like, what up, Jigga? Like, I'm like, yo, MSG, come on. Give the kid a shot. I was at MSG. Come on. But yeah, around that time, in that getting ready for that youth performance, I met a DJ from Queens who was incredibly talented. And again, going back to that time, you really had to find someone who would teach you DJing. It wasn't so accessible. There was no you couldn't just go online or, go try to watch tutorials. It was just, you really needed someone to show you. And I was so fortunate to finally meet someone, who could teach me the advanced turntable techniques. And so I was just, so happy that I finally found a coach right around that time that I, joined that youth group at performance. And then that was right around, that right then was my first battle, during getting ready for that performance. And man, I just remember going and, obviously just being super nervous, because again, I grew up in affluent white suburbs, looking for people who kept it real was, let's just keep it a buck. It was not easy. All right. We all listened to Biggie and Pac and all that, Dipset, G-Unit, all that. But, to find the people who really represent the culture was not as easy. So, it was definitely my fortune to find someone who could show me some stuff before going into my first contest. So I kind of had an idea of, how I would put my set together. But again, to this point, I just watched battles on, DVDs and stuff like that. I never really attended, a live DJ battle at that point. It's just kind of stuff we'd seen. So I didn't know how the contest would be. So with DJ battles, it's basically either showcase style or head to head. So showcase style means everyone goes and they pick a winner. Head to head means just eliminations till there's one person left standing. So this was a showcase style battle. Again, coming up, with battling, you're just and of course, watching the Scratch Pickles versus the Executioners. There's a lot of smack talking, a lot of disses. So going into that first contest, I'm like, I had a diss ready, but it's I'm not up against anyone. Yeah. So what do I'm like, who am I gonna, F you, you're cool, I'm out. What am I gonna do? How do I do,
Okay.
But then I was thinking, I'm like, well, you know what? Maybe I just gotta go at the best person. That'll be the statement, And so before the actual battle started, they were letting DJs go up to the different turntable setups and just practice. And I think one of the set, was live, because other times DJs will go and just practice in your headphones, but they actually had the monitors rocking, yeah. Okay. So you could hear what people were doing. So I still remember this one DJ. I'm like, yo, he's good, of everyone who went up, what he was doing was pretty dope. like he looks like he's gonna be the one to beat. You know, I'm like, yo, this guy Teddy, this guy Teddy, he's good. He's got some moves. So I just remember after a few DJs had gone, I went to my homie who I was with there, and I'm like, yo, no one's doing any disses. I'm like, I think at that point maybe again maybe there was like 7 or 8 DJs in the contest, and a couple had gone. So my set was definitely coming up soon. So I'm like, yo, no one's dissing. Like, what do you think? And he's like, do what you gotta do. And I'm like, yeah, yeah. So I'm like, I go up there. I do my little scratch, do my little beat juggle, whatever. It was all right. But like right at the end, and what made it better was that he responded. So like at the end, I'm like, yo, Teddy. And he was like, yo, what's up? And then I dropped the record. It's a Diamond D record, and the line was like, "Even your girl said you got a small wee wee," and the whole place was like, "Oh!" The host was like, "Oh, it's a hip hop battle now! It's a hip hop battle." It was like 8 Mile. It was like I just felt like I just like crushed, and it was just that was like again. I think I went blind for a moment. Again, it was very similar to like when I won my pro card. It was just this crazy euphoric feeling of being like, I'm not a sucker. Like I'm cool, Like I'm not corny, bro. Like even I did some real hip hop shit because the realest hip hop motherfuckers here are going nuts. It was like I finally got my pass. Be like, you're allowed to be over here with the hip hop guys now. Like you earned your spot. You did something cool. But ended up that guy became one of my best friends, Teddy King. To this day, he's like my brother, and we. That contest, I ended up getting second. He won first, and we both advanced to the store finals. And then, a few, just grinding away. A few years after that, I was able to finally advance to the regional finals in 2005 as one of the top. I think I was like one of the top DJs in New Jersey, and I competed in the East Regional Finals against an incredible DJ named Precision from the Executioners, who literally unleashed one of his most legendary beat juggles, Drop It Like It's Hot. That Snoop juggle, it's still like, I'm haunted by it. It's so good, though. It's just so good. It's so fucking good. But I also remember, rest in peace, I had an interesting moment with Mr. C, who was the host of the battle,
Okay.
Biggie's DJ, who passed away, I believe maybe like a year ago. But legendary, legendary DJ, and did so much. Obviously, DJing for Biggie and radio and clubs and just the finisher, man. He's just an incredible DJ. But so at the end of the contest, he's like, "All right, we have a winner," So again. This was the East Regional, the East Final, so not regional, but like East Coast kind of final. So it's like we had Precision, who was like the Queen's champ, and then I think, I think maybe Precision was Manhattan, and then there was Cut Fuchsius, who was also from New York champ, and then there was Illogics, who was from up here. He was the Boston champ. There's DJ MR from Connecticut. He was like the Connecticut champ, and then I was there from Jersey. I'm trying to think. So then maybe it's, like 5 of us or something, whatever. So they invite us to the front of the DJ set. And he's like, all right, everyone line up. And he's like, we have a winner. And he turns to me, he's like, congratulations, man. And everyone is like, wait, what the And even I was like, what? Like, because we're like, what? And then he was like, nope. And everyone's like, and my boys were like, ooh. He's like, nope. And I'm like, why you fucking, I looked at him like, why you fucking pulling me? He's like, oh man, it's because at the end of my set for like, for performance and effect, I like smash a record. So at the end of my set, I took a record and like smashed it on the set and just was like, oh, and he's like, So basically, he was like, "Yo, you were looking too tough." I'm
Yeah, a
like,
little
I didn't
extra, yeah.
understand because I'm like, did you think I was battling you? See, like, you think I was like smacking the record with the Jadakiss diss at the end, being like, "Yeah, see, you're next." Like,
Yeah.
I don't, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
it was kind of weird in that moment because it was kind of like,
Right, you're taking a
why?
shot at me. Yeah, yeah.
Maybe, but then again, who knows what was in his brain? But other people were like, "Well, your performance like that was really good," so they thought, So on some level, you could have been like right behind him, maybe, and
Oh
that's
yeah, absolutely,
why,
bro. If they acknowledge you, there's something up. That's how I
I'm
look.
like,
If they got enough
I don't
time to put
exactly.
attention on you,
But I don't, it was completely just Mr. C in that moment, and it's to this day I didn't understand what he meant by that. Like I was like, what? And he was like, man, I had to mess with you because you're kind of looking hard at the I don't know if he said you're looking hard at me or he's like you're looking hard on the record or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, but it was all, I was like, okay, whatever. I didn't feel like some type of way about him. Like, all right, he's just a legend. He's just messing with me.
he's roasting me. Yeah, yeah,
He
yeah.
just roasted me a little. It's all
yeah.
good, But it was interesting though. But again, like I have homies who are like hardcore, like Brooklyn rappers, and he was like, he was literally one of my homies came up. He's like, yo. Fuck that. That was bullshit. That's not hip hop, bro. You don't need it. I'm like, bro, he's standing right over there. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck who that Brooklyn motherfucker. That shit's not right. And I was like, yo, he's from Brooklyn. It was just one of those like, I appreciate my homie, but I'm like, bro, he's like standing right there.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to say this right now. Like, it's cool.
No,
You know,
your
and
boy's
again,
got your
like,
back. He's like,
yeah,
I
no,
know
was
you
like,
hear me.
Yo,
I know
and
you hear
that's
me.
why I was like, that's
so go ahead, Mr. C,
that's
turn around.
so Brooklyn,
Yeah.
though. That's so Brooklyn to be like, I don't give a fuck about that legend.
Yeah.
That's not hip hop. That's not right. I'm like, yeah, I don't think it's like that, But yeah. So again, going back to that, it was.
That's a good one right there, bro.
Oh
So that's
man,
a good
it
boy,
was
right? That's your boy right there, bro. Yeah.
Yeah,
You know there what's to
Jonesy
throw down
Dorn.
when you start talking loud.
I mean,
when you want them to
exactly.
hear it, when you know they hear it, they're
know.
like, you know what we trying to do.
Oh, yeah,
you know what we trying to do.
You're very easily in earshot,
Yeah. Yeah.
And
So,
I'm like, oh, thank you, Brooklyn. But yeah, no, I mean, looking back on the Guitar Center, and then eventually, I got into DMC and doing some other battles as well. So,
right. There was a story you had told me. I'm trying to remember it. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but there was something about an elevator. You had missed an elevator. Someone had missed it.
oh, okay,
You
yeah.
remember what I'm
Scratch
talking-
Academy, yeah.
Can you share
So,
that one with me?
sure,
That
sure.
one was a good one.
Yes, that was interesting. It's amazing. You remember these.
I mean, I was
spicy.
listening to you.
Yeah,
bro.
no, I
you were talking-
appreciate
you
you
were talking
really.
for
I'm like,
over an
yeah,
hour,
you
bro.
really taking
Yeah.
notes, me. Yeah, no, this is probably my biggest regret as a DJ was that day because so what had happened is Scratch Academy started in New York City, I believe 2001, 2002. Started by a guy named Rob Principe and Jam Master Jay, rest in peace, from Run DMC. So they started a DJ school in Manhattan. And my friends had we kind of heard about it, but at that point, again, we had already been like doing our things, battling for like maybe a couple of years or a year and a half already, at least. So like we were like the guys in Jersey, who were out competing. So one of my buddies, DJ Mikester, was like, "Yo, I'm gonna go check it out. Maybe we can, maybe I can get some skills. Like we don't really know. We've never heard of DJ schools before. This is the first one." So he went he went and signed up for a class, and when he went, they're like, "What the fuck are you doing here, bro? You know how to do a crab, you know how to, backspin, pad, beat juggle, like, just you should come in and be like a teacher's assistant,
Mm-hmm.
And then he told me about it, and they're like, "Yeah, your boy too." Like, "Yeah, you guys come in and be teacher's assistants, and we'll pay you very, very little money, but you get to hang out with superstars and have access to like all this practice space, So we're like, yeah, okay, perfect. And then I remember that first day, it was definitely like September, I think. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, no, it was definitely September. What am I saying? And we had the plans to go into the practice in the city that Saturday, I think, maybe, I believe. But that Friday night, I went out and just partied hard, man, super hard. So, come early, come Saturday. We're not even early Saturday morning, but come Saturday morning, I was just hungover and just felt like absolute trash. I
It was a good night of partying, bro. It
yeah,
was like, you know.
Um, but then, I ended up speaking to my buddy Mikester, who actually had made it to that, that class, and he told me that he was running late, and that he was like running into the building and yelling like, "Yo, hold the elevator!" And they're like, "No, no problem, I got you." And then he gets there, and the person holding the elevator was Jam Master Jay. So he ended up, taking the elevator ride with him, taking a picture. I actually got to like talk to him and chop it up for just that moment. But unfortunately, like a month later was when he was killed. So looking back, I'm like, oh man, that if I hadn't partied, the party gods forsook me. Like I was like, I've been
The one
forsaken by
time you let me down. The one time.
party gods. Maybe you got to make up for it for the rest of my life now.
Yeah.
Every time I touch the decks, everybody's gonna instantly be happy.
Well, I mean, bro, when you look at your career, all right, so we're at Foxwoods, we're doing the Thai. No, who's the vodka drink that you're
Yeah.
drinking?
Trying to support Thai Law.
Yeah, Thai
it was
Law,
Corvus brand,
right?
yeah.
So, like, in terms of some of the stuff that you've done, I mean, we haven't even discussed some of the Wu Tang stuff. That
Oh
you've done,
yeah,
I mean, like,
let's
so, like,
like,
yeah, it seems like the party gods have slowly repaid it all back.
Oh man, yes.
You know?
No, I mean, yeah. If we look back, for sure. I mean, again, my experience with Wu Tang was definitely incredible.
Can you share the story of where
Which
you played his song? He came out and started singing.
Oh,
Because
yeah, okay, gotcha. All right,
you
that
were on like
party.
a different
Yes,
level,
yes,
or
yes,
whatever.
yes.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
this, I think this was 2009. It was at Santos Party House in New York City, which is like a big, Drake raps about it. I think I think the big party was like Q-Tip and Vashti used to have a party that, they were just bringing everyone. Pharrell would be popping up. Like, it was just literally the superstars and the cool people. So again, with New York, it's all about like finding those scenes, and I think there's certain people who can, beyond just like the people who got the money, who will go out downtown, who can actually, get us, because they'll get like the artists and celebrities and, the models, and just getting that mix of cool people rather than just rich people. So that's definitely, I think, what made this place really prominent. So it was for Cuban Links 2, Raekwon's Only Built for Cuban Links 2 album release party. And, for, I guess it was the year before, I had been touring with this artist named Phil Anastasia, he was being managed by Raekwon's brother, K Woods. So we had, I guess maybe it was the year before, the end of the year, we had done like a tour, being the opening act for a bunch of shows in the Northeast. And that's how we kind of had that experience. And then eventually, when that show came up, again, it's Raekwon's brother's artist. So looking back, I'm like, I still don't know how he thought he was gonna drop like like that they were gonna let him do a couple songs. Like, I don't know if it was wishful thinking or if it just to get us in the building. Because at the end of the day, I was in there and I was set up to DJ. So that was the other part of it. Maybe his brother really thought they were somehow gonna squeeze him in,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
it
yeah.
was again, the party was Raekwon's album release, Diddy's hosting, DJ Envy's rocking, DJ Self is rocking. So I mean, look at the bill already, and then so it was already just a crazy party, and just as soon as the doors opened, it just started filling up, and I believe maybe Self was, so they had two different DJ setups. There's one setup on stage for the performance, and then there's another DJ setup which is up in the corner of the room. So like when it's a club setup, then that's usually just the room. But if you have performances, then there's a stage. But because, there's kind of the back and forth, there's two DJ setups. So I think, I'm trying to remember and so I was up in the kind of the higher DJ setup with DJ Envy, and he rocked his setup there, and then DJ Self was on stage. So yeah, I mean, I think once the party started, it was Envy, and I still remember he was just yelling at the sound man, being like, "Turn it up, turn my mic up, turn my mic up." And it was just like, I don't know. I think the space sounded kind of weird because even at the end, the sound man was like, "Yo, I told him." He was driving a Ferrari in first gear, bro. Like envy. I can't give you any more. You're gonna melt the system. Like it was just one of those weird things, looking back. But
It always hurts when the sound system is not.
I
Just
don't
like,
know. Maybe
it
he
doesn't
didn't have
match
a
the
booth.
party,
I
bro.
don't know,
Yeah,
bro.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just here.
Yeah.
Like I'm supposed to, I'm DJ for the other. This guy who
I'm
thinks he's
yeah.
gonna do a song. I don't know. Somehow I'm like set up right now,
Yeah.
and So yeah, I mean, as the night progresses, it just there's more and more people coming in, and then all of a sudden it's like just people popping out on stage, and you're just like, oh damn, it's like Ice-T and Coco. Oh, it's like Melly Mel, or just all these legends just want to come and be like, yeah, Raekwon, hip hop, and it was at one point they were like, yo, I don't think Funk Flex can get in. It's too crazy in here. I was like, what? Yo, that was the most crazy shit I definitely heard that night. The Flex was trying to get in, and they're like, the fire marshal was like, no more. No more people going in. I don't know if that was true or not. But again, that place was just super packed. And so basically after Envy rocked, then DJ Self did his thing, then they were going to get ready for the performance. And at this point, I'm like, yeah. I love you, Phil, but you're not going on after Ice-T or like you're not that. You're not, like after those people start grabbing the mic, I'm like, you definitely not going on, bro. But I'm here set up, and so again, at one point, Phil comes over to me and he's like, "Yo, Raekwon's brother K." He's like, "Yo, when there's gonna be a switchover between DJ Self." Again, because I guess, Envy had left, so that just left me up in that upstairs booth, So I'm there. So they're like, all right, we need a song for the switchover, So he's like, Scram Jones is going to DJ for Raekwon. So when you see Self unplug or when the music stops, they just want you to drop like a banger, so it gives Scram Jones a chance to set up for this set. And in that moment, I was like, are you serious? Because the first rule is you never play a Wu Tang song, even any deep, like you can't play, because you don't know what they're going to perform. They could perform anything, And I remember that because we had a situation when we were on tour and we were in Philly. And at one point, the house DJ like left. And like the stage manager backstage like freaking out, like, where's the house DJ? What? Oh my God. He's like literally like, and we're just like, what? And he's like, does anyone up here know how to DJ? And I'm like, me? Go up there and play something now. I'm like, I just run up and Matt, you got to think, there's just 2,000 people in this Trocadero Theater in Philly. And I'm just like running up. I'm going to start playing some shit. Like, I don't know. I'm so green, bro.
Yeah.
So green. And and again, not knowing any shit, like I dropped Winter War. It's like, this shit is all coming at you. Door, like everyone's like, oh, and I turn back. They're like, what the fuck are you doing? Don't play any Wu Tang. I'm like, this was like maybe I think it was one of our first shows opening for them. So I again like not having the experience. I'm like, I have no idea what's going on. I'm like, all right, maybe if I play one, this is a Wu Tang concert. Maybe they're gonna come a lot later. Like I have no idea, but I just playing one. They were like, "What are you doing?" So I'm like, "What?" So I like turned. I think I dropped like some Method Man record, and I turned back. And my boy was like, "No, what the fuck?" So I'm like, "All right, Biggie Pac, try, yeah." I'm like, "All right, we'll just go to some other hip hop shit," and it was good. And then afterwards, the homie. One of the other homies was like, bro, you can never. He's like, I've seen DJs get beat up by Wu Tang and their affiliates for dropping a Wu Tang before their set. Like, first, never, And I was like, oh shit, And now, so coming back to that situation, I'm like, bro, that's rule number one. Don't. So you're telling me Kate said I had to check him multiple times. I'm like, he's like, yes. Whatever song. I'm like, whatever. Like, you're not even telling. You're just whatever song.
Yeah.
You're letting this fucking album release party. You're just letting me be like, just pick a song.
Yeah.
Like, you okay? I'm like, again, looking back, I'm like, what the? I guess they had enough trust in that I would just figure it out.
Well, you were there, so
I
they were
was there.
yeah.
I'm like, fuck, I'm the one who's plugged in.
Yeah.
Apparently, for an artist who's definitely not rocking a set. Yo, Diddy's getting ready. You're not rocking a set, bro. After Coco and Ice T,
Yeah.
Melly Mel came out. I think Slick Rick might have came out with like, 2 tons of fucking gold on his neck. Like, I don't know. It was a blur. But after all those superstars at this stage, they're not handing you the mic. My brother will love you, but they're not handing you the mic. They're not going to be like, all right, Melly Mel, here, Phil.
Now you go.
All right, Phil. Diddy's got to go on, Phil. Sorry, Phil. Give me the mic, Phil. Diddy's got, like, you're... So, again, that situation, I'm just like, damn, and all for some reason, I just thought of Bring the Ruckus, I'm like, oh, dude, that's just like a hard song, So I just remember, I'm just gonna bring the Ruckus queued up, and I look over, I'm kind of watching the stage, and then at one point, just kind of this music stops, and then I don't know if someone gave me the cue or I just kind of went for it, because at that point it was like I was gonna, all right, I guess this is the time. Looks like he's unplugged, so I just drop, and then all of a sudden the crowd just starts going nuts. So I'm like, all right, I picked the right song, like they're feeling this. And all of a sudden I'm listening, and I hear, and it's Ghostface first, and all of a sudden I hear him here, and I'm like, oh shit, that sounds clear. Oh, that sounds good. Oh shit, he's performing. He literally thought the show started, so he came out just, spitting bars, and everyone's like,
Nice.
But then after his verse, it goes to Raekwon, So as soon as he stopped, he turns around, he looks at Scram Jones, and Scram's like still plugging his computer, and like it's you can see, like, because there's a video of it on YouTube. I think you can check it out. The video on YouTube where they're like. They're pointing at him, and I still remember that kind of exchange, because I still remember Ghost looked back to them, then he looked up at me, and when he looked up at me, I just backspun it, and he just turned around and started talking to the crowd, and then like Diddy ran out, and it was so
Bro, thank God you were up there.
Yes. So again, even to that moment before, again, I'm not here to make any allegations by any means, but just share a story of what was happening the moment before, that all kind of popped off. So again, they're getting ready for, for Raekwon and Ghostface, and they're getting ready for them to go. Pretty much the club was so packed. So of course, the green room, I know that place is not very big at all. So of course the stage is already just mobbed out. So like the only other kind of space that's adjacent is like this DJ booth, like upper DJ booth, So at one point, I see like Ray comes up with his goon, his entourage, not say goons, like 10 deep at least, and then like Ghostface again, he comes up with like his guys. So before you know it, like this DJ booth is just, we're packed like sardines. And mind you, like, I'm, my nuts are on the crossfader at this point. I'm just saying, I'm pressed.
Yeah, and you can't say anything to them.
No, I'm pressed. And all I remember is something happened in my back. Like, I believe, like, just kind of in my back, my lower back, like, I felt like something, like a jab or something, enough to the point that I was going to turn around and try to check the person, because like, yo, that's a little disrespectful. And when I turned around, it was Diddy. And in that moment, again, this, you have to understand, this is 2009, so all the stuff that's come out is now just making me reflect,
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to say for sure that, them ass was like, it wasn't like that, but whatever happened was awkward enough, you know what I'm saying? That just to keep it a buck,
Bro.
Like, I don't know if he gave me a little pinch or it was something that was enough for me to be like, hey, and I turn around and be like, oh my God, you know. And in that moment, I completely was like a deer in headlights. I think I literally like bowed the knee, like Game of Thrones. I'm like, oh my god, like I think in that moment I might have dropped to the knee, and I didn't. I'm like, what's going on, Puffy? Like, I had no idea. You know, I'm literally called him Puffy. Like, he has been called Puffy since Bad Boy days, you know? Like, what's up? What's up, Puffy? Like, I was just like a deer in headlights. He's like, what's poppin', baby? Here, have some Ciroc. And I'm like, all right, cool. And then next thing you know, I turn around and they're like, all right, play that song. So, again, it was such a crazy moment because, like, again, right after Ghost had done it, you know, had done his verse, then he started like talking to the crowd, and I think at that point, like Diddy like ran on stage and was like handing out Ciroc and shit like that. So like, what was crazy is looking back at, you know, like the coverage of that party on like MTV, and just I remember reading one person's review, and they were like, "Yo, when Bring the Ruckus was dropped, yo, that party was on the next." I was like, "What the fuck?" Like, yo, that moment was so. The wild thing is that it was so random, but it looked like it was rehearsed. So that was kind of, to me, I was like, oh shit, like I was kind of like a part of this history, like just by being in the right, you know, like they weren't like, yo, DJ Axe was on the set, but like I was there, you know, to just be a part of that, like, yeah, man, it was incredible golden memory. I know they have a tour coming up soon with Run the Jewels, so definitely want to check them out. But yeah, man, it's just you know, to be able to like share these moments with people that you just idolized growing up, you know, to be like, damn, bro, I remember, you know, Cuban Links. I remember 36 Chambers. Like, I remember like trying to learn the lyrics and being like, yo, Wu Tang's amazing. Like, this is incredible hip hop, and you know, to be able to go out there and, you know, DJ for some of the members and be part of those shows is definitely an incredible experience. Yeah, very fortunate, you know.
Yeah. DJ Guts took care of you, man.
Oh man, the party gods, they're like,
They
we
took
took,
care of
you know,
They
they're like, we're
took
gonna
care
make
of
up for in other ways.
Well, here, as we're wrapping up here on the 1 hour, I wanted to ask you, I had a few questions, if that's cool.
100%.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure what your ETA in terms
No,
of like,
no,
trying to get out of here, so I was like, I got
I'm
a few,
good.
but I won't keep them too
bro,
long, you know?
We can go as long as you need. I have
Cool,
no time
cool.
constraints.
So, tell me what it was like getting on the radio for you, right? So you do all these tours, you do all these different things that kind of prepare you to be able to be a top level DJ pretty much anywhere you go.
Sure.
So like, how do you transition from doing all that to eventually getting a slot on the radio and like doing like moving in that direction?
Sure. So, I mean, again, from the research, I shout out to Big O because he's really, you know, Big O and Pup Dog, of course, the big boss. But you know what I've really learned is in radio. I mean, even the history of it, DJs only really put on people they trust and have a real strong relationship with because it's so important. There's really no room for error, you know. So beyond being someone who's like reliable and on time, you have to be almost like bulletproof, you know, with consistency. Because if if I mess up, then it's on you know. So it's, you know, just looking back at like, again, growing up in New York and listening to some of the, you know, listening to Funk Flex, and you know, and there's also, you know, Bobito and Stretch, and they had like all that underground hip hop stuff. So there was, you know, on the radio, to me, growing up was just something I felt like I would never be like prominent or cool enough to be on. That was just, I never really thought about it that way, you know, until, you know, moving up here and then seeing some of the homies like get on. It's definitely, I was like, oh, okay. You know, if I can put in the work and build the relationships, then that's where it really comes down to. Because again, it's an important, you know, it's so important to just be consistent and clean and reliable. And that's, you know, it's like they say, like, good help's hard to find, right? So like, you need, if you want to be on, you have to be like not good, you have to be like stellar. Like, you really have to be polished to the point where, you know, your mixing can be on iHeart clean,
Right,
you know,
yeah.
like that's, you know, but yeah, I mean, I think for me, you know, it's just an amazing way that I can kind of put my kind of, you know, style to the way I mix. As you know, as being a turntablist, like for me, finding those few seconds to add some scratching, to the mixes like that, I love that. Like that's everything to me, and just to be like a part of hip hop culture, or music culture. I mean, I know there's plenty of people who may say, be like, hip hop's not, it's rap music, hip hop's culture, hip hop, in our jam, we say Boston's number one for hip hop, so I don't want to get into semantics, but, the reality is that me being like a hip hop DJ and just really appreciating, a high level of DJ skill and being able to bring that to my sets means a lot. And then, of course, again, just being a part of the culture. I mean, I remember making my debut as a weekend mixer right in the middle of the Drake Kendrick beef, and to literally on the talk break be like, "Yo, who do you got, Kung Fu Kenny or Drizzy Drake?" And to be literally the one, picking the records and playing Family Fair, or Not Like Us, Euphoria, and kind of like going like that, like just going back and forth, Meet the Grams, like it's such a crazy time. It just made me think of like when Jay-Z and Nas had that, and it really took me back to that time because like, listening on the radios, like they would literally go like Ether, Takeover, Ugly to, Got Yourself a Gun. And, it's just to be like, yo, I'm the one who's doing that now. It's, on some level, an incredible honor, but at the same time, there's, I definitely have a lot more to learn and to keep trying to progress for sure.
What was the first set like on radio?
Yeah, and nervous. I just want to be like, yo, this come out right, And again, I just really extremely humbled by the opportunity, because the reality is I definitely moved up the ranks rather quickly, because I went from being a holiday mixer and was like, I'm over a year, coming up on a year now, but yeah, so Thanksgiving, end of 23. So Thanksgiving 23, I made my debut as a weekend, as a holiday mixer. So that just means Thanksgiving, New Year's, holidays. But by the end of the year, I was promoted to Takeover Mix, which is, a weekly mix, Monday through Thursday. Again, it's half the, there's the DJs who are on the rotation are some, the most elite DJs in Boston, So just to be in a group with, of course, all the jamming guys, but guys like Snacks and Fingers, I mean, guys who I just hold in such high regard, it was definitely, I think a tremendous honor on some level. And then again, just the right situation opened up where last May I became, a weekend mixer. And, to be able to have an hour on the weekend, it's definitely a great opportunity, and it's all about what you do with it. I know there's plenty of detractors who think, that being on the radio doesn't mean anything because a lot of the music is programmed or the exposure is limited. But
Yeah, they don't know what they're talking about. Though.
I mean,
like, sorry,
I
bro,
mean,
I'm
some
not on
people,
that set. They don't get it.
I
Then.
mean, don't get me wrong. I think there's always been the battle. There's always going to be a competitiveness between elite radio DJs and elite club DJs. One guy's going to be like, I get paid more, and one guy's going to be like, I'm more famous. But it's all about the end of the day, like what fulfills you as a DJ.
Right, which path did you want to
go?
Yeah, yeah.
And I think, one of guy I really looked up to was like DJ Camilo, who kills the clubs and kills radio. So, looking at someone like that and really trying to understand what it takes to be, consistent over your whole career and just be performing at such a high level. It's kind of like a great standard that, I see myself just keep trying to excel, achieve that level.
How do you break down a crowd? Like when you're song selecting, when you look at a crowd, like how are you building them? Like what's your breakdown of a crowd as you're trying to like get them to peak party?
Well, I mean, I think also it's about understanding the situation of the event, because sometimes it's like, all right, well, we're going to have the energy at a certain point. So that's like, at that point, you just kind of, depending on what the background of the crowd is and the situation. I feel it's you kind of just have to be flexible and then try things. Try and once you start seeing some people vibe off of certain music, then you can keep going down that path. But it's important, I think, to just test the waters on some level because you really don't know unless you're like, all right, well, if it's a hip hop night or if it's an open format night, and it really comes down to the time and place, I suppose, on some level. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, it's really 100% the energy. You shouldn't be looking at your laptop. You should be looking at the people in front of you and, trying to gauge what's going to make them excited. Because that's, at the end of the day, that's what we're paid. We're paid to play music for people to have a good time. So that's our job,
Right. Right. Now, when you look at your DJ career, right, because you've done all these different things, like, what's the next goal? Like, what are you trying, like, what are you trying to get after?
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
for
Like,
sure, for
you're
sure.
champion hunting, so
Yeah,
like,
no, I mean,
I have something similar here. So like,
yeah.
that's why. Like, what's the goal?
Again, I mean, if I look at someone like Camilo, who's just at the most top clubs and still doing at a high level on the radio, then, again, that trying to have those things, to accomplish, then those can become goals, like playing bigger clubs. So beyond my Foxwood residency, really, building those relationships. I know, Boston's definitely a market where there's people that have different situations and there's different people who are in charge of different situations, and you really have to be cool with that situation if you want to work there. But at
Yes.
the same time, you have to bring something to the table, right?
Right.
And
Absolutely.
so, I'm not gonna, judge anyone who's gonna take care of people who give them back because that's just business,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so, it just I'm not worried. You know what I'm saying? I'm not too worried about like how necessarily happen because I'll just keep putting in the work, because on some level, I moved here and shout out DJ Hectic. He's really the one who, you know, introduced me to a lot of DJs in nightlife, and but it's kind of like I just keep doing my thing and I keep rising up, and I don't need anybody's help, and I'm already,
Mm.
it's like I, through different connections, through my homie Lee Mastermind who got me at Foxwoods. But that's the French. You know what I'm saying? It's not like he's a booker or he's runs venues or anything like that. He's just a homie who gave me, a recommendation, and now I'm like one of the top guys at Foxwoods. I didn't need anybody in Boston nightlife to give me that position, and now I'm on jamming, and I have this amazing opportunity, and it's an opportunity that plenty of Boston DJs will never have and don't have, and I didn't need to be beholden to any organization to get like I got it on the radio through my own hustle, and so the way these things work out, I'm not too stressing like to actually how, because I know if I just keep putting in the work, the right people, I'm gonna build those relationships, and it's gonna map out naturally. So again, I mean, another opportunity I have coming up is doing a DJ clinic over at Berkeley, College of Music. So, that again is an incredible opportunity. And the fact that, the homie Raider Ellis believes in, my accomplishments and my capability to the point where I'm going to come in and talk to, like, at one of the best music schools in the world. I don't know. Quincy Jones went there, Melissa Etheridge. Like, and again, nobody, I got that on my own hustle, So that's why it's
Mhm.
like, building the relationships going forward, the right people I'm gonna connect with, and the other people I don't need to, and that's the end of the day. Like I don't need anybody on some level. Like I'm doing all this on the strength of my ability. There's a reason I'm Fox was one of my favorite DJs. There's a reason I'm on Jammin' when there's so many DJs want to be on Jammin', and so many DJs who completely are incredible and have incredible amount of skill and would do a great job, but they just don't have the fortune, So all these amazing things have panned out just from me just being diligent and willing to always put in work and always try to get better. And when people see that, then, I think they'll see the value.
Where do you think your hard work mindset comes from? Because it seems like it's something that, you had with bodybuilding, you had with scratching, you had with pretty much, you know, it looks like you've been in that mindset for a while. Like, how do you think that developed? Like, where do you think it comes from for you?
Um, I think once I really started taking DJing seriously, I understood like the mindset it would take to really be successful. I would have to love it and just love it and live it. Because right after I graduated high school, I was working at a deli. And at one point, like I became, I was doing a good job, and so the assistant manager talking to the owner, like, oh, maybe you could become a working partner and you could own this place in like
Okay,
10
okay.
years.
So they were trying to bring you in almost like a earn your way to a partnership type of deal?
Pretty much. Pretty
Okay.
much where I'd maybe be working there for 10 years and a portion of my salary would be going into paying into the ownership. And then I would, after 10 years, either be full owner or big stake owner within the.
Majority owner, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was, good sandwich shop. And again, I just remember talking to my dad at that point and being like, what do you think? Like, is this a good idea? And he's like, it's, again, I'm like 20 or something like that. He's like, yeah, it's, by the time you're 30, like, you'll own this business, you have some money. But he's like, but if that's what you want to do, he literally is like, sandwiches have to be your life. And I'll always remember him saying that. Like, cutting ham, like, sandwiches have to be your life for 10 years. Which meant like, don't fucking have any dreams of being a D. Don't have any ideas of doing anything other than being like, live and breathe and die sandwiches. And once you put it like that, I was like, like again, it's work. I mean, it's all right, but sometimes it's, don't get me wrong, in any service industry, sometimes you have like terrible customers, but food service is definitely gonna, people can be extra,
Yes. Yeah, my parents own
extra.
restaurants. I get it. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah,
extra terrible
yeah.
sometimes.
You'll meet some entitled people for sure.
Yeah. So I remember just thinking like, I don't think I want to do that. But then at that same time, when I really reflected on DJing, I could see myself. I'm like, I could see myself doing this forever. Like I love it. I really love it. Yeah, I have to make it as a DJ now. And so that I think that's when it really, really set it in. Like it has to work.
Right.
And so again, at that point, that's when I moved to like Hoboken to be close to New York City, and started going to New York and just trying to build those connections and doing DJ battles and shows, and then ended up connecting with my one friend who I'd met at Scratch Academy, and it was just random. We just like literally ran into each other at a record store, and we're like, oh, we know each other, hey. And it's wild how it all kind of connected, because what had happened was, excuse me, when I ran into my friend, he's like, yo, check this out. I'm about to do a DJ battle with some beatboxers. And I'm like, wait a minute, these guys? Because what had happened was me and my crew had done the same battle. Like, maybe a couple months before, earlier. And so it's just, the coincidence is wild, right? So I'm like, and so the thing is, it was like 3 beatboxers. I think this guy is like now a DJ and a teacher, Rabbi Darkside, Kid Lucky. I forgot the other name. It might be Baba or something like that. Anyway, there was like 3 guys. So like the way it was a hip hop show, but then it was like DJs versus beatboxers. But what happened was like we would do a DJ routine, like one, and then all 3 of them would do a beatbox. And then at the end, I'm like, how's that kind of fucking fair, yo? Like, it's 3 versus 1 every time.
Yeah.
I'm like, if we knew it was going to be that, it should have been like 3 versus 3, like all 3, So when it came up again, I'm like, yo, I want another shot of these motherfuckers, yo. Fuck that. What? You're going to battle? Like, no. Because I'm like, yo, no, this time, it'll be a 2. every time they do it, we're both DJing, so it's more even,
Mm-hmm.
even though it's like 2 on 3, you know. And what was crazy is my buddy, also a beatboxer. So we're like at the end, we're like, yo, we're gonna have the fucking ninja, we're gonna have the fucking napalm set where we're gonna fucking at the end, you because they would do the you know, and they would come on some maybe on some battle shit, but they would like come over by the turntables and like do the hand, you know,
Gestures, yeah.
not to like over the decks like straight blatant disrespect, but like kind of near you, kind of like in your face, you know what I'm saying? And I'll be like, yo, but what if this motherfucker comes with the, you know? And I was like, yeah, they're not gonna be ready. And yo, when we did that, oh man, it was incredible. Like the crowd went nuts. They're like, what? Like, yo, he's beatboxing, you scratching? Like because we had like the mic hidden, so it
Yeah,
was like, yo, it's like
okay.
we fight you with your style. Our style is better because we have DJ.
That's awesome,
You
man.
know. But it ended up he again became one of my best friends, Dave Machinist, Terminator Dave, the drummer from Shinobi Ninja, also an incredible DJ. So when we had met again, he had just graduated University of Wisconsin, and you know his twin brother. They're some of my best friends to this day. Obviously we
Was
spent.
there a specific record you were going for that day at the record store?
I have no idea.
Or you
I
just
went.
happened to be there
We
'cause
just
you...
happened to be there. It was just so random to just run into my friend and be like, oh shit, yo, you're doing a DJ battle against what? Yo, I want another shot at those guys. And he was like, what? Yeah, let's do it. And then after that, he was really one of the first ones to really, because he was from New York, had friends in New York, so he had, started having parties at different bars and stuff. So that definitely, he'd bring me into to start DJing there because again, I'd started as like a battle DJ, performance DJ, like not really a party rocker at all. But I really kind of learned party rocking at Scratch Academy because there was DJs there that were like literally party rocking. Like they're not battle, they're not scratchy, they can do a little something, but they're known for rocking parties. So I remember going with one of the homies, DJ Mode. Shout out DJ Mode. He's DJ for the New York Soccer Football Academy or whatever. That big soccer. Anyway, and I think he DJs maybe sometimes for the Yankees too. But the main DJ is Jay Jung from the Yankees. Shout out Jay Jung and the Brooklyn Nets. He's the homie. But yeah, like I remember going out and he had a party, and I think to that point again, like I was a hip hop guy, right? And so all my shit was like hip hop. Like that's all I had, and maybe a little bit. Yeah, I don't think I even had like any kind of like dancehall or reggae. But that's when I went to him, and I'm like, oh shit! Like he's playing Michael Jackson, he's playing Prince, he's playing Sean Paul. Like all like I was like, oh shit! Like this is open for like this is party rocking. Run DMC or it was just I was like, wow, that really opened my eyes to like, all right, this is open format like party rocking. It's not just playing hip hop, the whole time. So
Right. So it was like a progression of that work ethic being built from all these different experiences you were having. And it all
yeah,
kind of started from that bump at the record store. Like, and all those kind of got to the point where you're now. So let me ask you this as we wrap it up here. Um, I always kind of end on this question because it's one of my favorite questions to ask. So let's say you had to do this whole process all over again, right? And all the lessons you've learned over the years, you can only take one of these lessons with you back to the beginning to get back to where you are. You forget everything else. You only have this one lesson with you that you've learned. What lesson would you take with you?
I mean, I think just going back to what we were saying before, like, but my consistency through my whole DJing career is again for me. It's like when I started my Buddhist practice it was kind of really the same time I started my DJing, and I feel like that having like faith in something like then that's what's definitely carried me through all the years, because there's plenty of times when you know you get derailed by life and people, and life can be so hard sometimes, but if you always have something that like no matter what, it gives you peace of mind, then that's for me has always been kind of a motivating kind of inspiration. My Buddhist practice, 1,000%, it's what's protected me. So if I went back, I'd be like, yo, just do your best with Buddhism, and you'll be the best version of yourself, and everything else will work out. That's so. I mean, ultimately, I would just I would go back and be like, do what you gotta do, do what you gotta do. And what I think looking back, that's was really everything.
Yeah, bro, you earned it. You've earned everything to get to this point.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot more work to be done, but yeah, man, just really excited, to just keep trying to reach new levels, and just even though I'm later in years, like I'm still relevant, just have the fortune of course of being, on Jammin' and having residency at Foxwoods and, have different places that believe in me on that level. Berkeley, shout out Raider Ellis, like, these are like pretty big things. And I really like no one handed any of these things to me. Like I earned them. And I think, that the right people who will appreciate my capabilities, and again, I think there's so many great, talented people in Boston nightlife, in New England nightlife, so just naturally building those relationships, moving forward, but not like sweating too hard of like, oh, I have to be friends with this, or, just do your best and the right people will kind of pan out for how we can support.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
All right. To wrap it up here, how do people find you? What's like your go-to social media handles? Like,
Instagram, yeah,
yeah, like
at DJ AXISPRO on Instagram and Facebook, and yep.
cool. So I'll put it here, but that's where you can find him. Other than that,
check it.
DJ Access, bro.
Hey, thank you,
Thank
my
you for this,
homie.
bro. I appreciate this. Was a lot of
Party
fun.
side.
All right.
The parties
All
are.
right. Yeah.
Yes.
All right, everybody.
Party science.
Yes, sir. All right, everybody. I will see y'all later. I will put all his social media handles on the videos. Other than that, peace.